Hello and welcome to part 5 in a series of videos showing how to set up a Windows XP computer. My name is Greg Johnson and I'm the director of resourcesforlife.com. In the previous episode of this series, I showed you how to go to the Dell website and find the proper drivers for, in this case, it's a Dell Latitude D600. And so what we did was downloaded those, actually using an Apple computer, and put them on this CD. And that's all explained in the previous video. In a nutshell, essentially what the point I was making is that if you're setting up a new computer with Windows XP, you won't have the drivers installed yet, and so you need to go ahead and get those, and you can't even get to the internet. If you go to your hardware settings, you'll see this, because the network drivers aren't installed. Right? So what you need are the drivers that are missing for the Ethernet controller, the audio network controller, etc. So that's what I now have on this disk, and I did a nice little laser etched labeling on there, so I'll keep that for future reference. And so now as I put that disk in, that's where I want to pick up and continue in this video. I've placed the disk in the computer. I'm going to double click on my computer. And we're going to go into that disk. You can see here I've double-clicked and going into the drivers. And probably, I guess it doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't matter really where we start here. But usually what I do is I start with video, just because sometimes the video is not optimized. And so that can slow things down. It can also mean that you're not well, in fact, here, this is a perfect example. You can see as I'm moving this window, it's trying to rewrite the screen, but there's latency there, there's a delay, and so it's kind of sluggish, right? So everything else is going to be slow until I get the proper video driver installed. So the first one I'll start with is the video driver. And I also explained previously, but I should explain it again, when you're downloading these driver packages from Dell or any other hardware vendor, the name of the file that you download probably won't make much sense, right? So it's good to go ahead and create a subfolder, like here in this case video-ATI, so I know, oh, okay, this is the video driver, it's for an ATI video card. Okay, so I'm going to double click on that, and because Dell's one of the more popular vendors, I'm using this as an example, but again, you could use a similar approach to HP or Gateway or whatever. So I've double-clicked on the ATI video driver, and I'm going to click Continue. And also here, it's suggesting that I put the driver in the Dell drivers directory. That's fine, but I do want to go ahead and put video and then a dash ATI as kind of a reminder if later I'm going into that subdirectory and wanting to remember, you know, what was it that this was. So anyway, that's the directory I'm going to put it in. I've just added that little bit. I'm going to click OK, go ahead and create that directory, and now we'll get some progress meter here that's going to show us how far along we are. And you might think that the simple process of installing drivers wouldn't really necessitate a detailed video describing what to do, but actually there are some things that you'll want to know as you're doing this. So I'm going to click OK. Some drivers will bring up their own software essentially for installing, and other drivers, however, won't do that. They will essentially be just the driver, and you'll need to go into the hardware device manager and do that manually, and I'll show you that for some of these, I think. So anyway, for ATI, for the video, it's going to walk us through. We're going to click Next, yes to the license agreement. Express is fine for that. And now it's going through the installation process. Click Next again, and yes. And during some of this wait time, I'll you know, either pause the video and come back, or provide you with some additional information that you might find helpful for setting up the computer. And one point I do want to make, and that I'll probably make later as well, is here we're going to go ahead and just restart the computer now that we have those video drivers installed. A point to make is that this process of setting up a computer from scratch, or even configuring a brand new recently purchased computer, whatever, it's time consuming. It can take days. If you're kind of fitting it into your schedule whenever you've got some free time, it can extend over a period of days, and the creating of this video is actually extending over a period of days. So because that takes so much time, and because Windows computers have a tendency to crash frequently because of one thing or another, either faulty hardware or viruses or malware, or the operating system gets corrupted or whatever, a person doesn't want to have to spend 5 days restoring their computer every week, right? You'd get 2 days of functional use, and that's about it. So that's why when I'm done here, I'm going to show you how to do an image of the computer. Well, anyway, one thing you'll notice is, I'm zooming out here, the screen resolution has really jumped up. So we're getting a much crisper screen with a lot more area on the screen to display images. Also, notice how smoothly now that box is moving. So we're using the appropriate video drivers, allows us to have higher resolution display, allows us to have faster graphics, and now we can move on with some other things. So I'm going to go back to the CD, go into these drivers, and now we might as well just step through it alphabetically. So here's the touchpad driver, and again I'm just going to click continue. For the description here, the directory where it's putting it, I'm going to put touchpad, and then backslash, then OK, then yes to create the directory. And one point I want to make is that in some cases, and we're just going to click next on through this, in some cases what you might want to do is just get the network driver, then get the computer to where it's online on the internet, and get the rest of your drivers directly downloaded onto the computer. Here I'm going to restart. So now those touchpad drivers are installed. And so you can do that. That's fine. In fact, for some computers they will have a when you go to the manufacturer's website, it'll auto-detect some of your hardware. So if you can just get the network driver working, then that's all you need to get to the manufacturer's website, and then to do the auto-detect to find out what's the other hardware that you have. If you get into a pinch and you're not able to find the network driver for your network card, either the wireless or wired network card, one thing you can do as a tech support person is have a USB network card, so that whatever computer you're working on, you can plug this thing in. You already have the drivers, presumably. It's a a network card that'll work with XP, Vista, and Windows 7. So it's kind of handy that way. You can just get right to the internet and then do whatever kind of auto detect or downloading of drivers that you need. So anyway, now I'm finished with that Alps touchpad. I'm going to go into the audio driver, and this is going to be one of those that actually will use its own installation software. And you're going to notice a pattern here. Each time I download and expand these drivers, I'm putting them in the directory. I'm naming it to be a reminder of what that driver's for. And once the files get unzipped into that folder, then it automatically launches the software to install that. So here we go. And we're getting close to 10 minutes on this video, so if I get close to that 10-minute mark, I'll go ahead and just bring the video to an end, and we'll continue into the next segment. But basically, for these drivers that are installing themselves using the manufacturer's software, it's a fairly simple process. You just kind of let the setup continue, you keep clicking next, and the software does what it needs to do. So once this audio software is installed, I'll continue on with some of the other drivers. And that'll go ahead and conclude here. We're going to finish, and I'm going to conclude this part 5 in the series, and I'll see you again in part 6. So talk to you soon.